Hello guys. So we'll be starting with the session in 1 to 2 minutes. Let's others join. So as you guys know that the first session, the unit 1 was conducted in your college. So this for this now we will start with the session 2, that will be unit 2. So we'll begin in shortly. Just hold up. So let's begin, guys. So as you all know that the unit 1 was covered at your college level. So this is the unit 2. So we will begin with the unit 2 now. So let's start with the unit of what we are going to cover. So basically there will be 3 modules, that are pathway 1, pathway 2 and pathway 3. The first 2 pathways will be covered by me, myself, Omkar Jagtap. I am the facilitator from AISSMSCOE, and my another friend who is Prakalp Pande, he'll be taken on the pathway 3. So let's begin with the first pathway, that is the conditions in Kotlin. So basically we will start with the Kotlin fundamentals. We have learned some basics about the Kotlin fundamentals in the previous unit, that is the unit 1. So we'll get in the deep here, what are the conditions, how you have to use it, what are the object oriented programming. So we'll look into that. So first we are going to look into the Kotlin's conditions in Kotlins. So basically, what are conditions in Kotlin? So we have 3 conditions that you all know. First one is the if else condition statement. The next is the when, So we will look into first, that is the if else condition. So if else condition basically means that when you are given a conditions, for example, if you have a key and you want to open a door, so you have the key and you have to see if the door is opening with that key. If yes, then only you can enter the house. If no, then you have to stop this. So that is what the if else condition means. So the syntax for that is if, and the body is there. So basically we will see what is the body in that. Can you do next? Here is the syntax. So as you can see, the if condition, if is there in the starting, is then the condition box will be the condition that you will be stating there, the condition what you are giving, and in the body you will write the code that will execute. What code will execute if the condition is true. So basically, for example, if we have a function like a traffic light color, so basically what it will do, so if you have a traffic light color as red, so it will print stop. If there is, if condition begins true, it will be print stop. If it is false, you will exit the loop. So that's your if condition. But what if I say that if the condition is not true, what will happen? So in that case, there comes the condition else condition. So we will, with the help of the end condition, we will see that if the if condition is not true, we will go to the else condition. So we'll see now the if else conditions. So basically this is what we are going to see in the if else condition. So as you know that we have seen in the traffic light, that if the color of the traffic light color is red, then we are going to print stop, else we are going to print go. That means if the value of the condition that is given in the f is true, then only we are going to print. But if it's not true, then we are going to go to the next condition that is written in the else statement, that is go. Right. So basically that's when we have two conditions. But what if I say there are multiple conditions? See, for example, if you know the traffic light signal, it doesn't have only red and green. So we have a yellow light also. So for that, basically we are going to do, we are going to see about what if else conditions will help us to do if there is something more multiple pathways. So for that we have if conditions that will follow your true conditions, and if else condition if there is a another condition, and if else and else condition if it is a default. So you don't have to specify in else condition that if the signal is green you have to go. So basically that's the major point you have to remember, is that in L condition it is by default, so it goes by you don't have to specify parameters for it. So basically that's the main point over here. So if else if what we will do, if else if the traffic light color is yellow, it will print slow, or else it will go in the condition of go. So here you can see in the last one that we have green. So basically what will happen, it will go in the if loop. So if there is a traffic light color is red, so it will not go, so it will exit that, and if go else if condition, it will check that yes, if the traffic light color is yellow, no, so it will not print slow. But now if these two conditions are not false, so by default it will go in the else condition, it will check yes, there is no other condition like, so I have mentioned else, so it will go and print go. So that is what your if else conditions basically mean. So this is what if else is condition. So now we will see what are when condition. So basically what happens in if else condition, you are creating multiple pathways, right? So that's more like you are creating multiple codes over there, and it gets very much not readable. So there comes the part of the when statement. So as you can see, with a single condition you are giving, and you are mentioning all the parameters in that, so that's where when comes in. So how does when help us? When is a very it helps us to read, very readability it is there, and it's typically easy to read. So when you have a single parameter, you can specify the condition. Yes, if this condition is true, you will have that body. If the second condition is true, then that will be provided. If the third condition is true, then that condition will be executed, right? So as you can see in the example that we have mentioned here, we have given a traffic light to the previous example only. So we have given a value there that the traffic light color is equal to yellow. So in when condition, what will happen, we have specified the parameter as the traffic light color. So it will going to check the first condition is that red color. So red, if it is red, then it is going to print stop. If it is yellow, then it is going to print slow. If it is green, it is going to print go. Or else, if the by default, as I said in if else also, if there is nothing that matches in that syntax, it will go to the else condition and print out that condition. So as you can see, we have yellow here. So what will happen when the yellow condition goes in the when when syntax. So it will find and iterate through that condition. Yes, if there is a yellow, I'll print down. So you can see that we have a yellow over there, so it is going to print slow over there. So basically you have to remember that if else condition is used when you have a very small statement and you have 2-3 lines of conditions only. But when you are having multiple conditions to write, they are going to use when conditions. Next. Can you go next, Rishi? Yeah, so the next point is about what are null variables. So basically in what do you mean by null variables? So as you can see, when we are assigning a variable a value, so we have to assign it, for example, you have to assign it a, for example, if you are taking a string, so if you give some variable as a name for xyz, so you have to assign it a value like for example, my name only, Omkar. So you have to assign it, you can't keep it null, so it will give an error in Kotlin if you keep anything null. So that's the point. But if for example, I want to give a value in my function somewhere else for that string, so what can I do? So Kotlin doesn't help you that you have no null value there. So you have to specify by yourself that you have to give that value of null. So what you will write, take it to the next slide. Yeah, for example, you will see over here. So what is val and var? There are two types of keywords that we are using. So val is basically which is immutable, and one more is that is var, that is mutable. So we are basically using a val over here keyword. So you, as you can see, we have assigned a favorite character is equal to a string that is Sandra O. So as you can see, the favorite that you are having a variable here is having a value of Sandra O. But if you want to assign a variable that in the future that will have a value, so basically you have to assign the value for here is equal to null. You just can't keep it a where favorite factor is comma. So that's the major point. You have to give it a null value over there, right? So in the next when you are declaring it, you have to give there a value. So how you are going to declare that? There is a for example, there is a what can question mark. Using that question mark, you are going to add that value over there. So basically this is about null value. Now how to handle this nullable values? So basically when you are trying to handle these null values, it will give you sometimes error. So as you all know that there are properties like what we can say dot operator, and which helps you to access the code. So basically using that, we are going to access some of the properties of that variable that you have created. So basically, as you can see, we are accessing some of the methods and properties over here. For example, you can see we are accessing the length of that string using the favorite actor dot operator, which helps us to access the properties of that variable. So using that, you are going to access the length. So that's about handling null variables. Take it to the next slide. So that was the fundamentals about Kotlin. So we have covered some basic points about over there about starting points. Now we will turn about the some Kotlin fundamentals that will help you to understand what are class, objects, and rest of the functions. So basically we will start some of the basics of Kotlin fundamentals, but in an intermediate level. So let's begin. And the first one is the class. So basically what does a class mean? So basically a class is a what you can say a blueprint for something. So the class is something that will help you to define some of the properties and methods, the object that you're creating using the class. So basically as you can see here in the syntax, the class definition starts with the class keyword. So what is a class? As I mentioned, class will help you to specify properties and methods. So the class definition will always start with a class keyword and followed by a name. Name can be anything you specify over there, and a set of curly braces. So what are the in curly braces? It is the body. So you have mentioned the properties, methods that you are going to see in the further that are mentioned in the body. So this is what we are going to see. So basically there are three major parts that are consist of a class, that are properties, methods, and constructors. So what does properties means? We are going to see in the further, but for a brief, we are going to see that properties are basically your attributes of that class object that you're going to create. And methods are basically the behaviors or actions, as you can see, of that class, what you are going to see. So basically it's just behavior and action that you conduct on the class. And constructors are basically special member functions that you create using the class, which you can define throughout the program. You can define it very well. So let's see what are the class instances. So class instances are basically you're creating an object of that class. So what are objects? So objects are what you are going to use to access that class using that object. So basically how you are going to define that object, to for use an object over there, you have to create an object and assign it to the variable. So as you know how we assigned previously a variable, so using that only, here also we have val keyword that are immutable and var keyword that are mutable. So basically as you can see here, we have declared val keyword. So val keyword is here and followed by the name of the variable, that can be anything as you wish, and then assignment operator. So assignment operator is equal to, and then the instance of the class object that we are assigning to the class. This is very important. You have to assign the class that you are going to match. So this class name is here what you have created in the class. Basically remember that class name what you will be creating, and the object is here now assigned to that class name. So in the example, as you can see, we have created a val and a smart TV device that is now a object of the class smart device. So that's the instance of the class. So let's see what are the class methods and class properties. So basically what are class methods? So as I told you before, class methods are something behaviors or actions of that class. So as you can see, we are here, for example, we have seen about when we have declared a class method. For example, as you can see here is a turn on method. So this method is used to turn on something in the class. So we have declared first the class, and there is a function that we have declared turn on. So what it will do when you are calling this in your main function, when you call that smart device using the dot operator turn on, it will print out smart devices turned on. So basically that's how the method works. The methods are basically helps you to give a function certain behavior or action that it needs to perform. So that's helpful when you are designing a large complex application. So in that function you can give most of your code written over then, and by calling a simple that function, it will execute your rest of the codes that for example that actions or behavior that we have defined, for example here using the turn on for a smart device. So there are two types. So the next one is call a method by an object. So using that, as you can see, first we have declared the smart TV's object, that is for here smart TV object. So using that smart object, we are calling the object, using the object we are calling the method over here, that is the turn on. So this is how you are going to access the method of a class using the object. You have to basically you have to remember that class is a blueprint, and smart TV device is the object of that class, right? So and using that operator we are accessing the method of that class. So the next one we are going to see is the class properties. Basically class properties are basically variables, as you can say, that are defined in the class body instead of the function body. So in the class body you have some of the variables that are designed it, they are basically variables only that are declared in your class body. So basically the what the syntax means is it defines the properties and the variables that are identical. So using the same that we have learned, that val and var keyword. So basically as you can see here, we have small example that in the class we have declared a property that is named as val name is equal to Android TV, and here we also have our methods also that are turn on and turn off. So in this you have to remember that the fun that is written is the function, and it is a inbuilt keyword that is in the Kotlin. So you can't use that as a name for your name or you anything for you you're using. So you can, it will give an error if you try to use it as a somewhere in your name. For example, if I want to write class and where I have written smart TV with declaration, I can't write that class fun, it will give me an error. So basically some of the inbuilt name keywords are there that you can't use for your purpose for writing that. Remember that point. So for example, here in the properties, as you can see, we have declared val name is equal to Android TV. So this one is the class property over there, and the function that we have written here, turn on and turn off, are the properties over here. Methods over here. So in the main function, where we can see the main function, we are declaring an object which is referring to that class. So smart device, to access that property, now we are declaring a printf function and we are writing the device name is. So what is a dollar sign means is that we are accessing something in our class using the property. So basically when you're writing in a string something, the computer does not know, or the id you're using does not know that you have something declared that has some name of a name given in that class something. So you have to declare in that, it will consider a whole as a string. So declare that something is there written in the code that you need to access from a class, you have to declare a dollar sign, and in the parenthesis that is given, you have to declare the name, and using the dot operator you have to see, and you have to dot operator, you have to assign that name towards that. So when you are trying to print this code from the main function, it will give you the output as device name is, that is the Android TV, which we have declared as a class property over here. As you can see here, and the function methods we have declared, that are the turn on and turn off, will also be executed over here. So as you can see, the output will be device name is Android TV, the device smart device is turned on, and the smart device is turned off. So that were the 2 points that we have covered now. Basically that was class methods and class properties. So next we will see about the constructors. So what are constructor basically? So as you can see, the primary purpose of the constructor is to specify how the object of the class are created. How we can say in a similar word that in a simple words we can say that a constructor basically initializes your object, and the object that we created okay, we created that object, will make it to use for us. So if you do, there are two types of constructor in it, that are default constructor and parameterized constructor. So in a default constructor you don't have to specify anything, a constructor is by default called by the compiler which we have in it. So there is no specification needed in the default constructor. But in the other one, there is a parameterized constructor. For example, while defining your class, for example, there are some inputs that you need from the user. So basically there comes a part of the parameterized constructor. So in that you have to define some arguments, as you can see in that class name. So you have, for example, in that parameterized constructor example, we have taken a name that is given as a string. We have assigned this as a data type as a string, and the category which is also assigned as a data type string. So we have declared a property over here, that is device status is equal to online, and we have also have here two methods that are turn on and turn off. So basically that's the two methods that we are basically follow, that is the default constructor and the parameterized constructor. So the next one we are going to see is that how this works with the visibility modifiers. So what are visibility modifiers? We will see a table about how there are four visibility modifiers basically, that is public, private, protected, and internal. So this is a basic syntax for visibility modifier. So what does a visibility modifier does? It allows the declaration of that variable or that functions also that you're going to access, how it's going to access, how it lets you to hide your data from and methods from unauthorized access outside the class where you declared your variables. So the four that I said earlier, that is public, private, protected, and internal, will help you declare according to your need what should be visible to which class and what should be not be visible to outside of your class. So for this specify properties, for this we are seeing visibility modifier for a simple one, that is the variable. So for properties one, so basically you can see we have to add a modifier one, that is a private. For example, we have taken here a private one, then is the var keyword, the name of that variable what you are declaring here, device status or online. So as you can see, we have declared over here that is online, so in value of the initial one. So this is for the property one. So the next one is for the what we can say, methods one. I'll take it to the next slide. Yes, so that was the property one. So we can specify for the methods also. So is for example, if you want to make a method also private or protected or something that you don't want to access outside, or you don't want to have give a unauthorized access to someone, so you can do that also. So what you can do, so basically the syntax is the modifier which you want to declare needs to be before the declaration of that function. So their modifier, the function, the name, and then the body of that class. So that's what we are going to see in the example also. So as you can see in the example, there is a method, class method declared as fun next channel. So it is declared as protected. So what does that do? It will it is a given a modifier and it is protected, so depending on that you can't access it outside. So that's how you can access a property in that variables. So the next we will see a table about how this all this works. Yes. So as you can see, here is a table which specifies you if you declare private, what will happen. If you declare protected, what will be the points. If you declare internal, what will be the points, and if you declare public, what will. So basically, what does private means? So private declaration gives you the idea that what if you declare something private in your class, it will be accessed only in that same class. If you try to access it somewhere outside the class, or someone other class try to access it, it will not be accessible, it will give an error. So that means so that is what private means. So the protected, now the protected one means that it can be accessible only by its subclasses. As you can see, for example, we can take an example. For example, what we can say, if you from your parents you inherit some what you can say properties, or some what you can say properties something, for example, so that are accessible by you have that property. So that means protected means, so basically the methods and the properties that you want to that are defined in that class are only accessible by the subclasses that are marked as protected. So that is what protected means. And internal, second, the internal means that it is accessed over the same module, but it cannot be accessed in the other module. So what does that module means? So the module is basically the file, the whole file that you have written the code. So the build settings, the source codes that you have written for a file. So in that whole file, if you declare something internal, it is accessible all over there, right? So that is the point of internal. And the last one is that public. So from the name it suggests that public, it is visible to everyone. So if you declare something public, it is accessible anytime to everywhere. All the properties, all the methods that you declared are accessible from anywhere by anyone. So that's the basic. And as you can see, when you declare modifiers are given, and as you can see when you are declared a private, it is only accessible in the same class. It can't be accessed in the subclass, it can't be accessed in the module, and it can't be accessed outside the module also. And in the protected one, as I have said earlier, that it can be accessed in the same class, and it is accessible by its subclass also, because we are giving the rights to that subclass also to access it using the protected method. And internal means that in the same class, subclass, and in the module only. So in that module only. And public, as you know, everywhere, anything can access from anywhere. Basically that's what visibility modifiers mean. You have to specify your modules according to your needs, what needs to be go outside the class, what needs to be inside of the class. Take it to the next. So as we have seen a basic for now, so let's see a small example how you can see. So we have a movie ticket example, as you can see. So we have declared a function over here which has a three now properties that are child, adult, and senior, and fourth one that is a boolean function, as you can say, that is a Monday. So and there is we have three print function that the movie ticket is going to print the ticket one, that is the child, and the second one print is about the ticket print for the adults, and third one is for the senior ones. So we have to see now the what the function we need to write. So we will get the output like this, that is the movie ticket price for person aged is 15, the movie ticket price for the age 25 age 28 is $25, and movie ticket price for the person age 87 is 20. So can anyone of this suggest what we have to use? Basically, if we are going to try to use something, for example, I'll give you a hint. What do you think we can use it? If else or when? Think about for a minute and then I'll give you the solution. If else, when, if else, if else, else. Okay, let's see the solution now. So as many of you are answered as if else, but the answer we are going to see, and some of you answered when. So basically the when is the correct answer. So why we are going to use when? As we have mentioned earlier that we have a single parameter over here that we are focusing on. The single condition that we have seen in the code, that was only age. From that age we are going to define what will be the price for everyone, right? So basically using that we will use when. You can use if else condition also, but using if else what will happen, you will get a more code, repeated code, same code is repeated. You have to write the conditions for if 0 to 12 the price will be this, if else this 13 to 16 you will have that price about $25, and if it is else condition, that is 60 to 10, then you have the $20. So basically you're repeating the same code for the same one parameter, that is the age. So remember that when you have one single parameter condition, you can use when. So now we will see the, so using that only we have solved the solution. So as you can see, we will return a value when there is a age. So what we are doing here in, so there is a range which we given, we declare a range like this 0 to 12. So when the value of the age is between that you specified between 0 to 12, the answer will be given as 15, right? This one will be the first condition of your. The second condition will be if the age is between 13 to 16, your value will be, that also depends upon the condition that we have seen, that if the Monday value, that is the boolean, as you can see in the function we have declared, is Monday is boolean, that if the value is true, then only the answer will be $25. If it's not Monday, then the value will be 30. So you will get a $30 bill on that if it is not Monday. And the third condition will be if your age is between 61 to 100, the dollar you have to pay is $25. And the by default condition, if you mention that else using, so if there is nothing between that range 0 to 100, it will give a -1 answer. So that is the basically one of the solution you can find. You can do more for that. We'll provide you with the links about where you will get all this. So there are more codes about that, so you can try that out. It will be helpful to you understand what are basically conditions, how to use them, and when to use if else and when conditions. So this was just the basic about what we can say Kotlin fundamentals which we have studied. So the second one what we are going to see is we are going to try to see about how to build a dice roller app. So basically all you guys know what is a dice. So it has a, so basically a dice roller app that we are going to create is in Kotlin. So basically this is the first program that you create anywhere when you learn any language. So we are going to try to build it in Kotlin. So let's begin it. So what we have to do, as you know that we have installed Android Studio over your system. So depending on that, you will, when you start a new project, just make it next. Yeah, so from this you are going to build that. So for the first point, the first step, that is that, so you have to take up baseline. So this is baseline, means you have to create a project. So for that project, creating project, you have to go into your Android Studio. So in the top left corner there is an icon called file. Go into that file, select new. In that new, select a new project, and then in the new project a dialog box will open that you can see in front of you. That is a new project one. So in that you have to select a empty compose activity. Why we are selecting compose activity? Because compose, as it is a using a jet compose camp activity. So using the jet camp, it will help you to build a very good UI using the jet compose package. So that's why you have to select a empty compose activity. Using that, so we will click next. So when you before clicking when you click next, you will get a new project, empty compose activity selected page. So here you have to name your name field is there that you have to enter. So you can enter any name you want. That for example, we have entered here dice roller. And in the minimum SDK, you have to select the minimum SDK. So basically we select the minimum SDK. Already by default it is we select lollipop, because what happens, it will increase, it will run mostly on all Android devices from lollipop version. So it will give it also specifies there, when you select a version, that it will run on 98% of the devices. So this is the baseline that you will establish. So the next part will be about creating the designs. So when you are done with this, the Android Studio will load up some files, and a new, and your IDE will open up with the new interface which will be given in the front of you. So in this, now we will start designing our layout. So basically what will happen, you will see basically a file that is main activity.kt. That is the main activity.kotlin file, which will have all your codes. So basically in the start there will be a code written for only a hello Android one. Is that by default code written over there? So in that, what we have to do, we just go there and we have to delete all that is written in the on create method. So in that you will delete all that, and in that function, you in that set content, you are going to write dice roller theme. So we are going to set a theme, and in that theme you have to write dice roller. So what is this dice roller app? So as you can see in the right hand side, in the function we have declared the dice roller, where we are going to write our code and logic. So in that, as you can see, there are some @preview and @composable. So what does @preview does? So basically @preview helps us to see your code before building it or using it. So you know that you have it is very helpful if you know what your code, or the code you have executed, what it will look on your Android. So basically Android Studio provides you with that facility also, that @preview, what will do, when you select, you have a split option over there. So using that split option, you can see your Android app that you have coded by hand before executing it or building it on your device or in a emulator. So that's the function. And @composable, as you know, basically that @composable is a UI kit of jet compose. So it will help you at all the basic functionalities of the composable packages that will have some, what we can say, methods or properties for building the UI kit very efficiently. So that's what we are implementing here using the @preview and @composable. I take it to the next one. Yeah, so basically what we are now doing here in the dice roller app, and the dice with the button and image. So what we are going to write in the function that we have written, the dice roller app, we are going to have a button and an image. For that, as you know that we are going to have an image and a button. So what will be the button do? When you click on the button, it will give us a random number, and according to that number your dice will change, or it will show the number that is outputted by the button. So basically that's the point. So the first one, no, take it to the back. So here, as you can see, we have declared the and the preview one show background is equal to true. So what does this do? Show background is equal to true will show your preview by hand before you can see that how it's going to look before building it. So that's the main point. And in the third one, as you can see, we have specified the modifiers. So modifiers will help you to declare what using the properties of that modifier. So fill max size. So fill max size, what we'll do, fill max size is basically a property of that modifier that will help you to fill the content on that phone of your size, depending on your phone pixels that you have. Depends So every phone has a different pixel size, so depending on that it will fill up the button and the image depending on the size it is given. And the wrap content size means the content that we are going to put in that. For example, the image and the button that we are going to specify, it is going to align it in the center. So whatever that you are going to write the content, it is going to be aligned in the center of the phone. So take it to the next one. Yep, as you can see here, now we have the function that we have declared, that the dice with button and image. So in the modifier we declared it, and we have taken a column. As you we are going to arrange in the column wise, we are going down by diamond. So what we are going to do, the modifier is assigned to the modifier that we have declared in the function, that we are declared in the function. So that is, the modifier will help you to redirect to that variables that we have assigned earlier. So horizontal alignment, variable that we have created, and the alignment is a inbuilt function, and it is set to center horizontally. So using that, all the content that you are giving here, it is centered horizontally in that direction. So that's where you create your vertical layout. So the next one is about the button. So we have created now the image we have now. So for the button that we are going to have, so the button is where when you click on that button, your image should change, right? So for that button, you need to write string name is equal to role, and this is just a declaration of the role string that you are going to create. We have assigned a name. It is, for example, you can say identifier for it, that role we have assigned the name role. So in that column, now when you have assigned that horizontal alignment is equal to center horizontally, below that we have to create a button that will help you. And button has one of the major property, that is on click. So what is on click? On click will help you to understand that on clicking the function, what is going to happen. So we will see the logic building about what we are going to write in that to do. So when we click on the button, what should happen and how should it change, right? So using that thing, and the string, this is what does that. R is your class name that is designed in it. Using the string, we are accessing the role that we have declared up in the video. So using that, we are accessing the role that we have written here on the button. For the button has some text, right? So the text written over there will be role. So using that, you are making the text over here role. So take it to the front. Yep. This is the one of the major point you have to remember, that we have some dice images, right? So that will be provided to you. Don't worry about that. So the images that we are going to need is 6 images for dice, right? There are six part, as you can see. To import that, in the left hand corner, you have to import that in your drawable folder. So there is a drawable folder in the resources of that Android project that you created. So in that, you have to import the drawables, right? So click for first is the import drawables. So when you click on the import drawables, you will see a number of files will open, and in that file you have to navigate where you have stored all your images, right? So click all that images, and when you have the function import, so when you are done with selecting all the image, just import it, and in the right hand, as you can see, the images will appear in your drawable folders. So when this appear, that you mean that you have successfully imported all your folders images over there in the file of your project, right? So this is how you are going to import any image to your project. Yep. Now we will see how are we going to access the image in our composable. So how are we going to code now? As you know, we have imported our images to our project. So the images are available in our project, but we need to assign that images to our code. So when we are going to have an image in our app that we are going to see. So in that image, all the images that we have in a drawer folder should be assigned one by one. So using that, you have to declare a property that is called image. So image, what will image do? Image will help you to identify the images that you have in the drawable folders, and it will get the access from there, and all the images will be available for you to use. So how are we going to declare it? So in the image, as you can see, there's a painter. So painter is basically, we have declared a name for it, and the painter resources is a what you can say, is a method or a function, you can say, which helps us to helps from the images to get the values from the drawable folders. So you have to basically remember the important part, that all the images that you are taking, you have to always store in your drawable file, because painter resources always will be accessing the drawable files, and basically by default, when you see the Android project, all the images that you are storing always be in the drawable folder. So so using that painter resource, so R is basically your a class where you are going to see. So using that R dot operator to access the properties of it. So in the drawable folder, and dot dice one. So basically, for example, we are taking a dice one. So dice one. So as you can see in the code, you can see the dice one face is available over here, and the content description is basically you are describing the what content it is. So as you can see, we have declared it here as one. So this is how you are going to declare your image over your image in your app. So now let's see how you are going to build the logic. This is the main important part, your dice logic, and how you are going to import your how you are going to import your all your images to your code. So before going to the button one that is to the left side, I'll explain you what is in the right side. So basically, the images that you have done in the first one. So images resources is something that will help. We have assigned a when. So as we have seen what is if, else, and when. So using else, there will be only a one result, right? So when you roll a dice, it will not give you results like two numbers. So it will always give you a one number. It will be either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So between that only will have your answers. So when the result is there, we are condition specifying here that when the result is 1, the first one, that is the r dot drawable dot dice one image will be occupied. So when 1 is there, this image will be occupied and this image will be opened. When there is a 2, then second image will be opened. Third image will be opened, and likewise fourth and fifth. And by default, if you write your sixth also, it is a no problem there. But as you know that the last condition will be else only, so you can declare this if the 5 of these conditions are not matching, by default it will go to the sixth one. So this is how you are going to write for the image resource that we are going to see. So this is image declaration. But for the button, for clicking the button, so how the button is going to define that what is going to be the number. So the number should be always a random, declaring on that. So as you can see in the on click, we have declared in the parenthesis result that we are going to send to our image resource. So result here is declared as 1 to 6. So as you can see, the 1 to 6 is something that we are assigning to a random. So what is this 1 to 6? So we have to declare a limit before here. What is that number? So the declaration limit here will be 1 to 6. So as you know, the dice has only 1 to 6. If you're going to declare a 0, it will work fine, but it will give you an error, because as you in the result, there is not something that you have mentioned in the image. So 0 declared something, right? So 1 to 6 is the answer, and dot operator, using the dot operator random function is there. So what this random will do, when you click on the roll button, a random number will be selected. It can be anything. It will be one. Every time you click on the roll button, it will be a random number selected from it, and according to that random number, your image will be declared over here, right? So this is the logic. So this is only help. This is the main part where you have to declare basically the on click one. Yep, take it to the next slide. So basically, if you can see, here is a full code over here, what we have basically seen till now. So basically, you can see first one is the on create method. So basically, on create in the main activity, what does the on create method is there? It is basically the starting of the file. It is the one that is going to run all your program, or as you can say, the app that you are going to build. So basically, in that on create, you are setting the context to your dice roller app. So what you have declared in the function below, right? So this is where your app will go. So from that the code will be checked. So what will be the IDE do? It will go and check if there's a dice roller app. Yes, it is present. It will go to that function, and whatever the code you have written below will run. So as you can see, we have written dice roller app. So in the dice roller app, you can see we have the image and button that we seen earlier, the modifiers and the alignment of that. So using that alignment, we are centering all in the between. And what we are going to write now, the dice image and the button logic, what we are going to see. So you can see we have written the modifiers one, and in that we have the result one. So in that result, you can see we have added the image resources. So what the result will become from the button clicking will be redirected to the image resources. So we have one resource that we have seen in the conditions below, and now is the columns one. So in that column, as you can see, the modifiers are there, horizontal alignment is there, and we have done all center horizontally. And in the image one, as you can see, basically when we see for example was there, image resources, how to declare, there was only one example to see. For example, where we declared as r.drawable.dice one. So that's for only one image. But here we want to have 6 images. So what we are going to declare, painter resources and image resources. So basically writing the name of that image resources over here, you will see that we have most of all the 6 images declared over here. And the content description is set to the result dot to string. So what the result will come over here, it will be set to a string. So if there is a 1, it will set to a content description to the string. And then we have the spacer one. What does the spacer do? It will give a gap between your image and the button. As you can see in the right hand side, we have a small gap between them. So that is the gap that you specify between that using the modifier dot height sentence, right? So and then you have the button logic that we have seen previously only. So this is how we are going to build a simple logic dice roller app. It is very easy if you learn about when to use when, how to use about the buttons. And this is buttons logic is only the main part over here, nothing else is new. You basically pretty know what is when and how does it work. And column is basically from the name itself, is it is aligned with the column. So basically this is the dice roller. Yep, that now we will move to the next one. You can try coding the dice roller app. It's very pretty easy. So we'll provide you with the links of that. Don't worry if you're stuck somewhere. So what is now the debugger in Android processor? So debugging, as the name itself says, that we are going to debug a code. For example, if you are running the code and you encounter some mistakes, so using that mistakes, you are going to see what code, where it is the error in a code. So using the debugger process, you are going to see how the error is found. So basically when you run the app, there is a where you run the app, basically it will, when if there is error, it will show you error in the logcat file. So and when you click the debugger to attach method, it will show you something like this on the right side, and you have to select the file that is on which the emulator and you want to debug the process. So you can select the file and click OK. So the next one, yep, as you selected. So when you selected, for example, here we don't have any error showing on. So when you see something over when you start debugging and when you start going through the console, you click on the code that is written over here, it will show up in the file if there is something error, right? So in debugging process, you go through the code, it will exactly show you what method at what time it is what processing. So basically that's the point of debugging. You will get a brief idea of what each line that you have maintained at that point, each line is doing at that point, right? And you're done with that debugging process. There's a stop one, you can stop the debugging process and it's done. Yeah, for the practice one, we will see now. So as we have seen a dice roll, we will not go deep into this. I'll just give a brief about how you can develop this and how this app works. So basically, as you can see here, you have 4 images, right? 4 images. And what does it do? Then there's the first image, that is the plant. So when you click on the plant, it goes in the image to lemon. And when you click on the lemon, it should go to the glass filled with lemon juice. And when you click on the lemon juice, it should be empty. So basically doing that. And there is a in that image, as you can see, we have to specify that the random number of times is for the lemon squeeze. So same logic that you have developed, if you understand the dice roller app, same logic is implemented over here, nothing new. So but just basically you have to understand, for the second image that you are going to use, you have to assign the random number of times. So how many times you have to squeeze, that will be random, you can give any number. Go to the next one. Yep, as you can see here. So as you can see here, you'll be seeing that first one is that tap on the lemon tree to select the lemon. So once you select the lemon, keep tapping to lemon to squeeze it. So once you squeeze, that will be random one. So tap the lemon, your drink will be filled, and when you tap it, it will be empty. So clicking on that, it should start again. Right. So basically, when your glass is empty, it should go back to the first one, that is the tree one. So you have to just remember that from the first one, tapping of the tree, you have the random number of times, where is the keep tapping the lemon for the squeeze it. So here is where, as you have seen in the dice roller lab, we have implemented the random function for the button. So you have to implement the random function for this lemon squeeze. So basically that's the same code. If you try it out, it will be basically all similar like the dice roller app, right? So it's pretty easy. If you get stuck somewhere, don't worry about that, we'll provide you with the solutions also, but try to solve it using the dice roller app logic. And if you implement using dice roller app, this it will be very good for you. You have to understand all the basics about it. So that's part from this one. So from here, as you can see, the pathway 1 and 2 has been completed. So what we will see in the final app view is there, that four of this will be there, as you've seen in the overview also. So this will be the four screen that you will be having. So when you deploy your app or build it, so this will be how it your final app will look like. If that's the two pathways that I've covered till now. Hope you guys all understood it. So uh, the third part, that is also one of the part, that is the last part, it also has app building, which will covered by my friend Prakalp. So over to you, Prakalp.
No.
If you're audible.
So, and very good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great. So, thank you, Omkar, for capturing the activity so smoothly and perfectly. Okay. So, our third pathway is interact with UI and state. We have 7 activity in it. Please change this slide. Yes. There are the 7 activities. Here, we have to create a tip calculator app. So, you can see we have to complete all these activities. Next slide. Okay, so starting with our first activity. This is introduction to state in Compass. Basically, we have to create a tip calculator app that calculates the tip from the user input in the app. So before we begin, this activity teaches you about state and how it can be used and manipulated by JetCompose. At the end of this activity, you will have to build an interactive tip calculator that automatically calculates the tip amount when you enter the service amount. This image shows what the final app looks like. So what will we learn, and uh, how to think about state in UI. The second one, how to compose use state to display the data, how to add a text box to your app, how to host a state. So now next is what you will build. So no, the previous slide. So a tip calculator app called tip time that calculates a tip amount based on the service amount. Next slide. So let's get started. So check out Google Online Tip Calculator. Please note that this is just an example, and this is not the Android app we're creating in this activity. So enter different values in the bill and tip boxes. The tip and total value changes. Notice that the moment you enter the value, the tip and the total update. By the end of following activity, you will be developing a similar tip calculator app in Android. In this pathway, you will build a simple tip calculator app. So by the end of this activity, your tip calculator app will look like this screenshots. So when the user enters a cost of service, your app will display a suggestion tip amount. The tip percentage is hard coded to 50%, 1515 for now. In the next activity, you will continue to work on your app and add more features like setting a custom tip percentage. Next slide. Okay. So now first you have to create a project. Set up a project in Android Studio with the empty compose camp activity template and the required string resources. In Android Studio, create a project with empty compose activity template. Enter tip time as a name and select API 21, Android 5 or higher as a minimum SDK. The string file should look like this code snippet. In between the resource tag, enter the string resources. We will provide you the GitHub repository for that. Next slide. Okay. So add a screen title. In this section, you add a screen title to the app with the text composable function. Delete the greeting function and add a tip time screen function to add the UI element required for the app. So the code snippet is here for override function. In the main activity file, delete the greeting function. Below the onCreate function, add a tip time screen composable function to represent the app screen. In onCreate function, surface block call the tip time screen function, as you can see in the snippet. Next slide. Okay. So the first one is default preview. So in default preview function, tip time theme, a block called the tip screen function. So the next one is display the screen. So implement the tip screen function to display the screen title. So in the tip screen function, add column element. The element are in vertical column, which is why you use the column vertical. So in column block, pass the modifier name parameter. Set a modifier padding function that accept the 32 dp argument. You can see in the code snippet that the first code. So this add a fixed 8 dp space between the child element. So in the column function, pass the vertical arrangement named argument set to an arrangement dot space by function that accept an 8dp argument. So the next add is a okay. So net one is add a text element that takes a text name parameter set to string resources. So the parameter set to a 24 sp value and the modifier named argument set to a modifier align. Okay, next slide. Okay. So in this design panel, click build and refresh. You should see calculator tip appear as the title of the screen, which is the text element that you added. Add the text field composable. In this section, you add the UI element that lets the user enter the cost of services in the app. You can see what it looks like in this image. Okay, so add text field composable to the app. Next slide. Okay, so in the column block, after text element, add a spacer composable function with 16 dp height. So in main activity, add edit number field. That is a composable function. So in the body of edit number function, add a text field that accept a value name parameter set to that empty string and an on value change name parameter set to an empty lambda function. So on the line after the spacer composable function, call the edit number field function. You can see in the code snippet here. So this display the text box on the screen. In the design panel, click on the refresh and build. You should see the calculative screen title and empty text box with the 16dp space between them. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is the use state in compose. So this is the most important topic. State in an app is any value that change over time. In this app, the state is the cost of service. Add a variable to store data. At the beginning of edit number field function, use the val keyword to add the amount input variable assigned to a static value 0. So in this state of the app for the cost of service, set the value name parameter to an amount input value, and then build and run the app again. The text box display the value set to the state variable as you can see in this image. Now enter a different value. The hard-coded state remains unchanged because the text field composable doesn't update itself. It updates when the value parameter changes. That is, which is set to the amount input property. Next slide. Okay. So seventh, the composition. The composable in your app describe a UI that show a column with some text, a spacer, and a text box. The text shows a calculator tip title. The spacer is a 16 dp, and the text box show a zero value or whatever the default value is. So the compose is a declarative UI framework, meaning that you declare how the UI should look in your code. So if you wanted your text should show like 100 value initially, you'd set the initial value in the code for the composable to 100 value. So what happen if you want your UI to change while the app is running or as the user interact with the app? For example, like uh, what if you want to update the amount input variable with the value entered by the user and display it in the text box? So that's when you rely on a process called recomposition to the update the composition of the app. So when the compose run your composable for the first time during initial composable, it keeps track of the composable that you call to describe your UI in the composable. So recomposition is when composition re-execute the composable functions that may be changed in response to the data changes, and then update the composition to reflect any changes. So if you use the state and mutable, no, no, the previous, okay. So if you use the state and mutable state in the compose to make state in your app observable or tracked by compose. The state type is immutable, so you can only read the value in it. While the mutable state type is mutable, you can use the mutable state of function to create an observable mutable state. Okay, so next slide. They use remember function to save data state. So composable method can be called many times because of recomposition. The composable reset it state during the recomposition if it is not saved. Okay, next slide. So use the remember function in edit number field. So you can see the snippet in the screen also. So in the mutable state function, pass any empty string instead of a static like a zero string. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is update number field function should look like this. That the code snippet shown on the screen. So run the app and enter some text in the text box. You should see that the text box you enter now. Okay, next slide. Okay, state and recomposition in action. So in this section, you set a breakpoint and debug the edit number field composable function to see how initial composition and decomposition works. So set a breakpoint and debug the app on an emulator or a device. So the edit number field function needs to next the overvalue changes name parameter, set the line breakpoint. So in the navigation menu, click debugging app. The app launches on the emulator or device. The execution of your app pauses for the first time when the text field element is created. Okay, next slide. Okay, so modify the appearance. So in the previous section, you got the text field to work. So in this section, you enhance the UI. Add a label to you the text box. Every text box should have a label that lets user to know what information they can enter. So in the first part of following example images, the label text is in the middle of the that text field and align with the input line. So in the second part of the following example image, the label is moved higher in the text box. So when the user clicks in the text box to enter the text. Okay. So next slide. Okay. So this slide is about okay, edit number field. So modify the edit number field to add the label to your text field. So Android provide an action option to configure the keyboard displayed on the screen to enter digits like email address, URLs, and password to name a few. Okay, so you can see the code snippet here. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so run the app. You can see the changes in this image that you have made in the previous code. Okay, next slide. Okay, the display the tip amount. In this section, we implement the main functionality of the app, which is the ability to calculate and display the tip amount. At the end of this task, your app will look like this. The mobile image you is shown in the screen. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay. So calculate the tip amount. So define and implement a function that accept the cost of service and the tip percentage and return the tip amount. Now your app can calculate the tip, but you still need to format and display it with the number format class. So on the next line of the calculate tip function body, call the number format dot get currency instant function. So this gives you a number formatter that you can use to format number as currency. Now the function returns a formatted screen. So you can see the code snippet in the screen. Okay. Next slide, please. So this is use the calculate tip function. Okay. So the text entered by the user in the text field composable is returned to the on value change callback function as a string, even though the user enter a number. To fix this, you need to convert the amount input value, which contains the amount entered by the user. The edit number field function should look like this code snippet. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so this image shows the calculated tip amount. Okay. Next slide. You need to access the amount input variable in the time tip time screen function to calculate the display the tip amount. But the amount input variable is the state of the text field defining the edit number field, the composable function. So can't call it from the tip screen function yet. This image illustrates the structure of the code. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so 12th one, the state hosting. So in this section, you learn how to decide where to define your state in a way that you can reuse and share your composable. So in this composable function, you can define variables that hold the state to display in the UI. For example, you define the amount input variable as the state in edit number field composable function. So understand the stateful versus stateless composable function. You should host the state when you need to. The first one, share the data with multiple composable function, and to create a stateless composable that can be reused in your app. So when you extract the state from a composable function, the resulting composable function is called stateless. So this is composable function can be made stateless by extracting state from them. Okay, next slide. The state in edit number field function. So you have to update the edit number field function definition to host the state by adding the value and on value change parameter. The completed tip time screen function and edit number field function should look like the code snippet. So this is the tip time screen function. Okay, so the edit number, please change that slide. Okay, here is the edit number field function. So run the app on the emulator or a device and then enter the value of the cost services test. Next slide. Okay, so the tip amount of 50% is displayed as you can see in this image. Okay, so to get the solution, is this slide? Okay, so to download the code for the finished activity, you can download the repository as a zip file. So then unzip it and open it in Android Studio. Then you will be able to run that code. Okay, next part. So congratulations. Here we completed the activity and learn how to use the state in the compose camp. So it is a very important topic. So now the summary finished. Act. So now here's the summary. The state in an app is any value that can change over time. And the second thing we'll discuss is the composition is a description of the UI built by the compose when it is executes composable. And the third one is initial composition is a creation of the UI by compose when it execute composable function for the first time. And the state hosting is a pattern of moving state up to make a component stateless. So here we are done with our third activity. Now let's jump to next. Okay. So the next activity is calculate a custom tip. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So before we begin, in this activity, you use the solution from the previous activity, that is intro to the state in compose, to build an interactive tip calculator that can automatically calculate and round a tip amount when you enter the bill amount and tip percentage. So what we are going to learn in it is how to add an action button to a virtual keyboard, how to set up keyboard action, what a switch composable is and how to use it, what a layout inspector is, and what will build is a tip time app that calculates the tip amount based on the user inputted cost of services and tip percentage. Okay, next slide. Okay, starter app overview. So this activity begins with the tip time app from the previous activity, which provides the user interface needed to calculate a tip with a fixed tip percentage. So the cost of service text box lets the user enter the cost of services. The app calculates the display, the tip amount in the text composable. So to get started, download the starter code from GitHub and add necessary string resources in the string.xml file that you can file in your res folder. Okay, so next slide. So here's our fourth topic, that add a tip percentage text field. So a customer may want to tip more or less based on the quantity or quality of the service provided. And yes, this one. So the okay, so the customer maybe want to tip more or less based on the quality of the services provided and various other reasons. So to accommodate this, the app should let the user calculate a custom tip. So in this section, you add a text field for a user to enter a custom tip percentage. As you can see in this image, you already have a bill amount text field uh, that you can see in the code snippet. The bill amount text field composable in your app, which is the stateless edit number field composable function. So in the previous activity, you hosted the amount input state from the edit number field composable to the tip screen function. So which made the composable stateless. So to add the text field, you can reuse the state compositor, but with a different label. To make this change, you need to pass the label as a parameter rather than hard code it inside the any composable function. So to make the composable function reuse, you can see the code snippet here. Please go through it. Okay. Now next. So the in the tip screen function, after the edit function calls, another text field for the custom tip percentage, make a call to edit number field composable function with these parameter that are shown in the that is shown in the code snippet. This adds another text box for the custom tip percentage. So in the tip screen function, update the calculate tip function call, pass in the variable as a second parameter. Okay, next slide. Okay, the code for tip time screen function should look like this code snippet. So go through it. We will provide the GitHub repository link. Next slide. Okay, so you can run the app on a emulator or a device and then enter the bill amount and the tip percentage. So does the app calculate the tip amount correctly? Uh, you should ensure it. Next slide. Okay, so the next topic is set an action button. So in the previous activity, we explored how to use the keyboard option class to set the type of the keyboard. So in this section, we will explore how to set the keyboard action button with the same keyboard option. So a keyboard action button is a button at the end of the keyboard. So add keyboard option. So in the edit function, edit number function, the text field function calls and pass the keyboard option constructor at the IME action named argument. You can see in the code snippet. So it call the construction to set the IME action next value to use. So the keyboard option default copy that function to use the other default option like capitalization and auto correction. So please refer to the code snippet here. Next slide. So after running the app on emulator, the key in this image you can see this image. So the keyboard now display the next action button as you can see in this image. Next slide. So in the second edit field number function calls change the T% text field, that is IM action to IM action dot done. So your function should look like this code snippet. Okay, please go through them thoroughly. Next slide. So after running the app, it displays the next and done action buttons as you can see in this image. Okay, next. Okay, so add a switch. Switch toggle. So it is a toggle the state of the single atom or on or off things. So there are two states in the toggle that lets the user select between the two options. Toggle consists of a thumb and a track, as you can see in the image. Next image. Sorry, next slide. So add a row for the text and switch composable. So in the switch composable, add the modifier to align the switch composable to the end of the screen. So in the tip screen function, add a var variable for the switch composable state. So create a var variable named roundup. Set it to mutable state of with false as a default argument. Surrounded the call with parameters with remembers. Okay. So this is the variable for the switch composable state, and the false with will be the default state. So the round the tip row. So this composable function should now look like the code that the code snippet shown in the screen. So this display the round tip row. Okay, next slide. Okay, so run the app. The app will display the round up tip toggle, but the thumb of the toggle is barely visible as you can see in the image. Okay, next slide. Okay, so update the calculate tip function to round up the tip. So modify the calculate tip function to accept a boolean variable to round up the tip to the nearest integer. So to round up the tip, the calculator tip function should know the state of the switch, which is a boolean. In the calculate tip function, add a roundup parameter of boolean type. So in this tip time screen function, update the calculate tip function and call then pass in a roundup parameter. So now you can run the app. Next slide. Okay, so you can see now it rounds up the tip amount as you can see in these images. Next slide. Okay, so same to download the code of the finished activity, you can download the repository as a zip and then open it in this Android Studio. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide, please. Hello, Rishi. Please change this slide. Sorry, guys. I guess the presentation is facing some network issue. Please bear for some time.
Is it visible?
Okay, so here we conclude the our this activity. So here we have added a custom tip functionality to our tip time app. Now our app lets us user to input a custom tip percentage and round up the tip amount. So if you wish to share your work on social media with so share it with hashtag Android Basic. So here we are done with our activity number 4. Now let's move forward. Next. So activity number 5 is write with automated text. Sorry. So here the list what you will learn. So the first one is what automated text in Android do, why automated text are important, why local test is and what it's used for, what is an instrumentation test and what is used for, and so on. So then we will build a local test and an instrumentation test. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so automated tests. So testing in the context of software is a structured method of checking your software to make sure that it works as expected. So automated testing is the actual code that checks to ensure that the another piece of code that you wrote works correctly. So here you can see why automated tests are important. So at first it might seem like you don't really need to test in your app, but testing is needed in app for all the size and complexities. So to grow your code base, you need to test existing functionality as you add a new pieces, which is only possible if you have existing testing test. So the next one is instrumentation test. So in the context of Android development, and instrumentation test is a UI test. So instrumentation test lets you the test part of an app that depends on the Android and its platform, like APIs and services. So unlike local tests, UI launch an app for the part of an app, simulated user interaction, and checks whether the app reacted appropriately. So I will provide you with the code. Now you have to perform this activity. So next slide, please. Okay, so conclusion. So finally, in this activity, build wrote your first automated test in Android. Tests are the so Android tests are the critical component of the software quality control. As you can continue to build Android apps, ensure that you write the test alongside your app features to ensure that your apps work properly throughout the development process. So here we conclude the activity fifth and the activity sixth. And the activity six is assignment for you. So you have to complete it, and we will provide you the GitHub repository for the reference. So, and here I conclude the session. Hope you enjoyed it. So it was an honor to present my perspective here today. Thank you for being here. Have a great day and keep coding.
Registrations for Unit 3 are about to open from all the colleges. So RSVP now so that you get to join in the session and learn more knowledge. So thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone.